This conference will now be
Okay, so
recorded.
continuing with our breakdown of tefillah, of prayer. So once again, right, men, women, we all should be starting the morning with the brachot, with blessings. We mentioned moda'ani, anatilat yadayim, asher yatzar, which is not just in the morning, right? Moda'ani is just in the morning. Anatilat yadayim is once in the morning as part of your davening, and then at any point during the day, if you're having a bread meal, then you will wash it yodidayim. But we mentioned in a different manner. In the morning, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For a bread meal, it's 1, 2, 1, 2. And we mentioned asher yatzar, which is done after every time that one uses the facilities, right? So then one makes the bracha of asher yatzar. So that's a bracha that could and should be learned by heart, because thank God our bodies function and we use the facilities, right, over the course of the day. And then we had the bracha of Elokai neshama, about the neshama, the soul that was given to us and will be taken for us and will be returned to us eventually. And therefore, kol zman, as long as that soul is in our bodies, moda ani lefanecha, we thank you, Hashem, and we try to maximize the gift that we have. On page 18, 16, right, we have Birchat HaTorah, the blessings over the Torah. Okay? Now, this is Birchot HaMitzvot. Generally, before we do a mitzvah, we make a bracha. Not every mitzvah has a bracha that precedes it, right? But generally, before we do a mitzvah, we make a bracha. For example, give me some examples, friends. Shabbat candles, beautiful, right? Right? Men, right? On our talit, right? On the tefillin, right? Before we do the mitzvah, lighting Hanukkah candles, eating matzah on Pesach, eating maror on Pesach, right? These are all mitzvot, and we make a bracha beforehand. Learning Torah is also a mitzvah. We'll soon see it's one of the greatest mitzvot. And therefore, we need to make a bracha before we learn Torah. And the brachot of the mitzvah of learning Torah was incorporated into the morning davening. Now we know that when we're making a bracha prior to doing a mitzvah, you need to fulfill the mitzvah right after the bracha. Otherwise, it becomes a bracha levatala, becomes a blessing in vain. If I say I'm going to put on the tefillin and then I go and take a drink or take a phone call or text somebody, so I have interrupted between the bracha and the performance of the mitzvah, right? So therefore, we have to learn immediately after making these brachot. So that is basically all of page 16 is exactly that. Now, women are not obligated in learning Torah for the sake of learning Torah, but women are obligated in learning Torah to know what to do, right? Yes. So a man has a mitzvah, a separate mitzvah of learning Torah, okay? And every word of Torah, a man fulfills a mitzvah. For a woman, learning Torah is, and it's based on psukim, on verses that women are not fully obligated in that, but they need to know what to do. So for a woman, it's more of a hechsher mitzvah. It's what enables them to do of a mitzvah. But both men and women are obligated to study Torah, right? A woman would not be obligated to study Torah that is not well, that is not relevant at all in terms of practical halacha. But a woman also needs to be motivated. And therefore, much of what we'll learn, right, is also going to be things that will motivate a person towards their avodas Hashem, towards serving Hashem. So let's just say both men and women make this bracha, make this blessing. Okay? So let's unpack it if we can. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, Hashem Elokeinu, our God, melech haolam. And remember, we have to come back to Baruch. That's an important word also. We'll come back soon. Asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav, that we're familiar with, right? Every mitzvah gives us this kedusha, this holiness, this sanctity, right? The mitzvot transform us. Vitzivanu, and we were commanded la'asok b'divrei Torah, to toil, to engross ourselves in the words of Torah. And then this bracha continues. V'harev na Hashem Elokeinu, and please make it sweet, Hashem our God. Make the words divrei Torah b'finu, make the words of Torah sweet in our mouths and in the mouths of all Amcha, all of your nation, the house of Israel. And may it be that we and our children and our children's children and the children of all our children and the children of all of Israel, Kulanu, may they all be Yodei Shemecha, they know your name, Lomdei Toratecha, studying your Torah Lishma, right, with pure intent. How do they define that? For its own sake. But, right, meaning when we're studying Torah, we shouldn't be studying Torah in order that I could, when this rabbi talks, I can show him up, in order to show just how knowledgeable I am. We should study Torah because this is the words of Hashem, and that's how we connect to Hashem. Blessed are you, Hashem, Hamalamed Torah li'amo Yisrael, that you teach Torah to your nation, Israel. And then it's followed by a second blessing, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, which is the blessing that is repeated when we're called up to the Torah. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, that you chose us from all the nations. V'natan lanu et Torato, and you gave us His Torah. Baruch atah Hashem, blessed are you, Hashem, notain Torah, the giver of the Torah. Okay, so these brachot should be said each morning. Now, immediately after the making of the bracha, what do you need to do? You need to do the mitzvah. So what do we do right afterwards? We learn right afterwards. We say verses of the Torah. This is the priest blessing that the Kohanim do on Yom Tov. Sfardim do it daily. Parents do it to their children, right, on Shabbos. Yivarechecha Hashem v'yishmecha, may God bless you and safeguard you. Ya'ar Hashem panav elecha, may Hashem illuminate His face to you, v'gichuneka, and give you and be gracious to you. Yisar Hashem panav elecha, may Hashem turn His countenance to you and give you peace. And then we learn a Mishnah, and then we learn a Gemara. Okay? Let's see the things that we learn.
I didn't realize that it
outlined
those.
Yeah. So that way, once we made the bracha, we hit on all components of Torah study. Torah, Mishnah, Gemara, Talmud. Okay? Now, what are we saying over there? Elu Dvarim, these are the precepts that have no prescribed measure. Peya, that's the corner of the field. Bikurim, that's this week's parsha, the first fruit offering. Re'ayon, the pilgrimage to Yerushalayim on the holidays. Gmilut Chasadim, and acts of kindness, and Talmud Torah, and study of Torah. Then the Gemara says these are the things that a person eats the fruits in this world, and the principle remains intact for the world to come. So these are the things that we have benefits both in this world and in the next world. What are they? Honoring parents, acts of kindness, coming early to the study hall, morning and evening, hosting guests, visiting the sick, right? Escorting a bride, levayat hamet, right? Funerals, right? Attending funerals to escort a person who has died. V'iyun Tefilah, and absorption, that's a good way of putting it, into one's prayer, and bringing peace between one person and another. And Talmud Torah, the study of Torah, is equivalent to them all. So it's interesting to note that even though we say Talmud Torah is equivalent to them all, right? If we were to line these up, right? These things about which we say you receive the fruits in this world, but the principle awaits you in the world to come. Which of these are between person to person, and which of these are person to God? So let's go through the list again. Honoring parents. Okay, so honoring parents, the argument can be made that's a little bit of both. Why might I say it's certainly person to person? But remember, by the Ten Commandments, the first five are person to God, second five person to person. And where is honoring parents? In the first five, number five, right? But certainly that's certainly person to person also, or mainly person to person. Acts of kindness, person to person. Coming early to the Beit Midrash and early in morning and evening. I'm not sure where to put that because we didn't say study of Torah. That's number 10. We said coming early, right? So I'm not right. Coming early helps to motivate others, right? So I'm not sure where that goes. That can go either way, but certainly kindness, right? Acts of kindness is person to person. Okay, visiting the sick, person to person. The bride, person to person. The deceased, person to person. Bringing peace, person to right. That's certainly person to person, right? So one, right? And I'm saying honoring parents is certainly involves person to person. That's one. Two, Hashkamat Bein Hajash we're not short about. Guests, the sick, the bride, the deceased, right? So it's over where it's 6 and 1, and then you have Iyun Tefilah, okay, absorption in Tefilah. That'll be in the person to God category, right? And then Talmud Torah Keneged Kula, and Talmud Torah, person to God. So it's very heavily weighted person to person, okay? Not in any way to diminish the person to God mitzvot, but every person to person mitzvah is also a person to God mitzvah. How's that?
Because it's his creation.
It's his creation and it's his command. He commanded you to be nice. So when I'm being nice to a person and I'm doing what God commanded me. Okay. Now, a couple of interesting things which speaks to some interesting principles in Judaism. Typically, when you do a bracha on a mitzvah, and then you stop doing the mitzvah, and then you start doing the mitzvah again, you need to make another bracha. For example, I put up a mezuzah in my house in the morning, right? I made the bracha likvoa mezuzah, to set a mezuzah. Beautiful. 10 hours later, I realized, oh, that door also needs a mezuzah. I put a mezuzah there also. Do I make a bracha again? Certainly, right? Because if I'm putting up 10 mezuzahs, I'll make one bracha, and then I'll put up all 10 mezuzahs, because that one bracha is going on all of them. And ideally, I wouldn't be talking about other things that are not mezuzah related in between. But basically, that bracha. But once I had a break in between, I need to make another bracha, right? A man puts on the tefillin in the morning, right? And then he takes it off. He needs to goes to the bathroom, comes back out, makes another bracha, puts it back on. So very nice. I did my bracha on Torah study, and I did some Torah study afterwards, verses of the Torah, Mishnah, Gemara, and then I davened, and then I went to work. Not everyone is blessed like me that I work doing this, right? I went to work, and then I have an hour chavrusa. So I would imagine we would think, what should the person need to do? Make bracha again, like the mezuzah. You don't. You don't. Why is that? Because we view it that, of course, I'm learning the whole day. If I have to have an interruption, it's an interruption in order to enable me to get back to learning when I can. So therefore, we view Torah study as something that's all encompassing throughout the entire day, right? And therefore, I would I would not make another bracha. Now, what's interesting, this bracha counts for the day and for the night, meaning this will work for Torah study also at night. Now, why does that seem to be problematic? What does that seem to be going against? What Jewish concept does that go against? It's a different day, right? So it's seen that we should make the bracha every night and let that bracha count for the night and the next day, right? Right? Shabbos begins with nightfall, continues into the next day. The Jewish day begins at night. So this is a very, very interesting and nice concept. Why does the Jewish day begin at night? Well, because the Torah says, "Va'erev va'boker," it was evening, it was day. What is an understanding in why it begins at night like that? Because we're always going from dark to light, right? We go from confusion to clarity. We go from olam hazeh, this world, to olam haba, clarity. So therefore, we're always in this journey of dark to light. Now, an exception to that is when it comes to sacrifices in the Beit HaMikdash. There, the sacrifices are not brought at night. They're brought during the day, and they can be eaten that day and that night until the next morning. So in the temple, in the Beit HaMikdash, there we count it as not night and then day. There it's day and then night. Why might that be the case? Any ideas? Zoomers can also speak up, can unmute. Don't all be bashful. Yes?
I would think because there's like a long period of sleeping in between, and there would be too big of a break.
Okay. So, Rachel is offering a technical issue that sleeping ends up being a big hefsek, a big interruption, right? But we don't do avoda at night. We do avoda almost all. We do avoda during the day, and then it goes into the night. So, an explanation that's given that resonates with me is the Beit HaMikdash is a place of clarity. The Beit HaMikdash is a place where God's presence is apparent. Right? The Mishnah Avot says that there were these constant miracles that were taking place there. The Beit HaMikdash is where one could tangibly feel the presence of God. So there it's not dark. There we're not there. It's light. It's clear. It's bright. It's illuminating. Right? So there, now we still have to have 24 hours. So there will be a night that follows. But there, we don't need to go through the night to get to the dark. We're in a place of clarity. So when it comes to Torah study, perhaps what you're saying is correct, that we can't have that big interruption between, right? But I think we could also apply this principle. We say Torah, Ora. Torah is compared to light. Ki ner mitzvah, the pasuk says in Mishnah in Proverbs, ki ner mitzvah, the mitzvah is like a ner, is like a lamp. The Torah is or. Ki ner mitzvah Torah or. Right? Torah is light. And therefore, Torah, like the Beit HaMikdash, right? That's a place, and this is an involvement that gives us clarity, that gives us this connection to the Master of the Universe, Baruch Shalom, to Hashem. And therefore, by Torah study also, it begins morning and then goes into the night. Okay? What does Baruch mean? Bless.
Welcome. Bless.
Blessed are you, Hashem. Okay. So, what does that mean? That I am blessing God. right? That I am blessing God, right? It seems kind of strange, right? Maybe it's an acknowledgement. Blessed are you, Hashem. God, you are blessed. But what does that mean that God is blessed? Right? Like God doesn't need our blessings, right? So what does that mean, Baruch? How do we understand that term in a blessing? Right? Yeah.
Is it more so acknowledging like the source of all blessings?
Okay. Yes, certainly a bracha is acknowledging that God is the source of all blessings. But getting into the word itself, right? It's a little bit strange. Now, there are also some other things, right? Hashem tells us in the Torah, if you do these mitzvot, I will barech et lachmecha. I will bless your bread. What does it mean that God's going to bless my bread? So I don't need to make a bracha? Of course I need to make a bracha, right? What is it, right? It'll be really tasty, right? So what would it mean when God says, I will bless your bread? You will have in abundance of it, right? Actually, the Maharal points out very interestingly, the letters for the word bracha are bet, resh, chaf. Now, the gematria of bet is 2. Resh is 200. Chaf is 20. So bracha is 2 in the digits column, 2 in the tens column, 2 in the hundreds column. It's 2, 2, 2. It's all about 2. Why? Because the greatest increase is from 1 to 2. Percentage wise, anybody in finance, 1 to 2 is 100% increase. 2 to 3 is only a 50% increase. 3 to 4 is a 33%. 4 to 5 is a 25%. 5 to 6, etc. Right? So barech means increase. Increase. Right? And there's a Gemara in Brachos, a wild Gemara, that it was put into a beautiful song by one of the Jewish singers. Rabbi Yishmael was the Kohen Gadol. And he went into the Holy of Holies, and he had a vision of God sitting there. And Va'amar li, God said to me, Barcheni, bless me. Amar Tilo, I said to him, may it be your will that your compassion will overcome all your other midos. You should act with Yisrael, with the nation of Israel, lifnim mishurat hadin, cutting us some slack, not being overly demanding, right? And right, v'nen ali barosho, and Hashem nodded his head to me. So how do we understand these brachot? What does that mean? So a bracha is an increase. What are we asking Hashem to increase? God is there's no he's not going to buff up, right? He's not going to put on some weight from too many barakas, right? What's he going to increase? If we're asking God to increase, what are we asking him to increase? His presence.
His
exactly.
presence.
His presence, exactly. Right? Meaning God can make his presence be more palpable here, or he could move away. He moves away, things go awry over here. He comes close, things become illuminated, beautiful, clear. I don't use the term blessed because that's going around in circles, right? So we're saying, we make a bracha, Baruch, blessed, increase. You, Hashem, Elokeinu, Melech HaOlam. You are our God. You are the King of Olam. What does Olam mean? World, right? But the root of the word Olam is Ayin Lamed Mem. Alam in Hebrew means hidden. So why would the Hebrew word for world have the same shoresh, the same root as the word for hidden?
Because God is hidden within the world.
Beautiful, Mark. We define the world as the place where God's presence is hidden. Okay? So what are we asking? Hashem, you are Melech HaOlam. You're the Melech in this hidden manner in this world. What do we want you to do? Baruch. Don't be so hidden. Don't be so hidden. Increase. Involve. Take it a step further. We recognize Ata, Hashem. You might be hiding, but we know it's you. We know it's you. Ata, you are Hashem, the God. Elokeinu, our God. The master of this world wherein you hide yourself. Now, the best way to make Hashem hide less is by acknowledging him. So in a deeper sense, every bracha is, you are the God that hides in the world. Increase. We know it's you. Come on out. We know it's you. Stop hiding. Stop obscuring yourself. Come on out. There's another aspect of almost every bracha that we make. First, we're talking to God. How are you?
Amazing.
Baruch Hashem. I love that response. On one hand, we're talking to God. Baruch Ata. Blessed are you. I'm talking to you. Right? But then we switch from that to speaking about. What do we say? Who has Asher Kiddishanu v'mitzvotav? Who has sanctified us? So the bracha, every bracha of a mitzvah at least, switches from speaking to speaking about. Do we hear that? Right? We don't say, blessed are you, God, our God, King of the universe, that you sanctified us. Right? Asher kidashtanu, with your commandments. Right? But we switch to Asher Kiddishanu, who has sanctified us. Why are we switching? Well, why do we have, better yet, why do we have both of these components in our bracha? What would you say, my friends? Why have both of these components in our bracha? Well, you've been on a streak over here.
Does it have something to do with us in relationships with like this hidden amazing God?
Yeah.
And then this, like how you were saying, like he's our God. So even though Hashem is vast, like we have this specific role in this specific relationship with him.
Good. So we need to have this relationship with God. At the same time, we need to recognize that this is so beyond us. Right? One of the reasons that men wear a kippah to cover our head is to recognize that there's a separation between this and that, right? And therefore, God is Elyon, far beyond anything that we could ever comprehend. You know the term? What is this called? Kippah in Hebrew. There's also more of another name that's called a yarmulke. Right? What is a yarmulke? Where does that come from? Right? It sounds almost like Japanese. Right? I wear my yarmulke when I drive my Yamaha. Thank you so much. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol na'ah b'dvaro. Thank you.
Wait, how much you need to be thirsty to say the bracha for the water?
I'm sorry?
How much you need to be thirsty? Like, what's the level of
How much?
thirsty?
How
How
much?
much you should be thirsty to say bracha
How
for the water?
thirsty do I need to make?
Yes.
Okay. So if I'm eating anything or drinking anything,
You need to say bracha.
you need to make a bracha, right? Water is an exception. If I'm drinking water in order to swallow down a pill, then I would not make the bracha on water. If I'm drinking orange juice to swallow down a pill, I would make a bracha because then I'm getting benefit from that orange juice. But water, I find it delicious, but water is a little less to it. Okay. And therefore, if I'm just using it in order to swallow down a pill, I would not make a bracha. But if I'm drinking water because I want to drink water, then it's like anything else, and even the smallest amount, you would make a bracha.
So almost every time.
Yeah, unless I'm taking a pill. Yeah.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
so
But 1 second, yarmulke is a combination of 2 words, yarei me'eloka. Yarei in awe, me from before, eloka before God. Okay, so therefore, a bracha needs to have both of these elements. We need to speak to God. He wants us to speak to him, but at the same time, we have to recognize that we can never fathom God, and he's completely beyond. So therefore, every bracha of a mitzvah combines these 2 elements of speaking to, atah, directly to, and asher kiddishanu, and speaking about. It's holech v'shav. Right? We go, but we don't want to overstep. Right? So it's speaking directly to with tremendous reverence. Right? In yeshiva, when you're speaking to your Rosh Yeshiva, right, you speak in third person. Not, do you want this? Should I get Rebbe a sefer? Does Rebbe want this? There's a certain reverence that one has when speaking to a Rebbe. Right? Someone does it to me, I say, ask him. Does Rabbi Sina want this? Ask him. I don't know. I'm not comfortable with that. But in yeshiva, when I've recently actually reconnected with one of my rebbeim from the yeshiva, I refer to him as Rebbe. Yeah.
Is this not the same thing as you said, going like actually, like
Exactly.
when we go with Amida, when we step forward and we step back?
Okay, that's interesting, right? Orly is bringing up, right? In Shemona Esrei, we take 3 steps back, 3 steps forward. Yeah. We'll get there. That's mostly a different concept. Yeah, it's mostly a different concept. So
Rabbi,
yes, Janet.
I'm floored. I'm confused why water is such a different category. I mean, it's the miracle of the universe.
I'll discuss with you another time, Janet. I don't want to go off on
Okay.
that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
I agree. I love water also. Okay. Yeah.
But I know blessing.
You do make a blessing on water.
Yes,
I know,
If
but
I'm
like if you take,
If I'm only
you're
using
taking,
to take a pill, I don't. Okay? I'm only using to take a pill. then I don't. Okay, so that is a lot of the what a bracha actually contains, right? So it's a call out to God to become more, right, and again, our calling out, our acknowledging, our doing a mitzvah, that is an act which actually leads to this baruch, which leads to this increase in Hashem's presence. Okay, then turn to page 18. We have then the Birchat Hashachar. Okay, now whereas a man is ideally not supposed to eat before davening in the morning, okay? Unless one needs it to give him strength for davening. Let's say Shabbos, sometimes a person, on Shabbos, we're more lenient with that because we're not going to eat until around midday, right? So their person, would be able to eat before davening. There's another issue with Kiddush, but that's, we're not go there now, right? And a woman does not have that restriction, but a woman should say some brachot, some of the morning blessings.
Like what?
Before.
For example,
All these
all
brachot.
from the.
Not all of them, some of them. Some of them.
No, I know that they shouldn't say Baruch atah shalom sanisha, but what are they obligated to say?
Well, we've been talking about the brachas. We had Antiot Yadayim. We have Asher Yatzar.
No, I'm talking about the morning blessings when you get up.
The morning blessings include all that we've done until now, and now there's also morning blessings that you're referring to. So let's take a look over here. Page 18. Okay? And this is a series of 15 blessings that we make. The Gemara sets it up that you do this piecemeal, but we do it all as a series. Okay? You've given the heart, the understanding, to distinguish between day and night. And it's not simply day and night, but between illumination and darkness, between clarity and confusion, between good and evil. Right? And these are all that you have not made me
Normally, we're able to go all the way to there. And now, just the sand at the point.
Janet, are you talking to me?
Oh.
I just muted you. Okay.
So if you, Rabbi Sin, I have a question. If you are in a process of a conversion,
okay,
should you say the bracha shalom sani goy?
Okay. So, or let's add, no, that's an excellent question.
Wait, why is
Or
he asking
if a person is in the process of converting, do they make this bracha shalom sani goy? Probably not. How about a person who converted? Right? Right? Do they make this bracha or not?
If
right? So they do make the bracha. How can you make that bracha?
Because once you're converted, you're a Jew. You've always been
Okay.
And if he
is and that Hashem helped me along the way that I did not remain in that state.
And if if the person is doing Giyur V'Chumrah, for example, Ethiopian Jews, when they all of them was repatriated to Israel, they was obligated to do Giyur V'Chumrah to be accepted as a Jew because they didn't have oral Torah. So if somebody is doing Giyur V'Chumrah, I
would say if they hold themselves to be a Jew, but they're doing Giyur V'Chumrah, I'm going through a conversion process just to make sure that there's no doubts, right? I would say they would make this bracha, and when a person has converted, then make this bracha. The next one, Shlo Asani Aved. He did not make me a slave. Okay, so what I would suggest thinking about making this bracha is that I'm not a slave to my passions, to my lusts, that I need to be in control of myself. And, now, what we're going through over here is we're going through gradations of Torah, of mitzvah obligations. A non-Jew has mitzvah obligations, namely Sheva mitzvahs b'nei Noach, the 7 Noahide mitzvahs. So I'm thanking God that I have more than the than the non-Jew. In Eved, even an Eved Kanani, right, a Canaanite slave, was obligated in mitzvot also partially. So therefore, he didn't make me an Aved that I'm obligated in all these mitzvahs. The next one, woman, is the same idea. Shlo asani isha, because a woman is exempt from which category of mitzvot?
From mitzvahs that's connected to the time.
Right, positive
And
time-bound mitzvot.
I heard something. I remember I asked the woman, and she said me that it's also because we can't be pregnant. We can't feel the pain. So that's what the part of the bracha too. Is it true or not? It's the part of the
Oh,
idea of the bracha.
interesting. There are those that say along those lines, right? In other words, that looking back over history, well, first of all, a woman goes through childbirth, which is
Yes.
a difficult, somewhat dangerous thing, right? Or someone has suggested, look back over history, right? And women have been at a pretty big disadvantage, right? Right? Not that they should have been, but they have been at a pretty, or even today, there's much talk about, will a woman be able to get this position, right? Or, do women get the same salary as men for the same, yeah, right? So, but the simple understanding is, Shelo asani isha, right? That I've got additional mitzvot. What does a woman say? Sha'asani kirtsono. That he has made me according to his will. And the approach that resonates most with me on that is that a man needs all of these time-bound mitzvot in order to stay aligned. A woman is asani kirtsono. A woman has already been made that inherently she is more aligned with the will of God. And therefore the woman needs less mitzvot in order to keep her connected. Right? The neshama, the soul of a woman, right? I don't need to do Kohen mitzvot in order for me to be aligned with Hashem. Kohen does, right? So a man needs all these to be aligned with Hashem. A woman is asani, Hashem made me already asani kirtsono, aligned with Hashem's will, more inherently, more intrinsically aligned, and therefore, right, so each one is, the man is thanking for having the extra mitzvot, the woman is thanking for having that extra spirituality that doesn't necessitate those added mitzvot. Also been pointed out, there's nothing about a man that is time-bound. A woman is a time-bound mitzvah. She is a time-bound being. Right? A woman goes through her woman menstrual cycles. Right? A man has nothing that is time-bound. Wake up, go to sleep. Right? It's just another day. Right? That's just for us. Right? A woman, right? It is a whole different alignment. Right? So she is this time-bound mitzvah, and therefore, so the bracha that you make, when you make that bracha, you have in mind Shasani Kirsono. That God made me aligned with His will, inherent alignment, not requiring this all the added mitzvahs. Yes.
And why Kohen don't say additional bracha? Because they have even more mitzvahs than men's.
I'm sorry.
Why Kohen don't have additional bracha?
Who?
Kohen.
Oh.
No, because we have more mitzvahs than goyim. Men have more mitzvahs than women, but Kohen have more mitzvahs than men. So why
isn't there a special bracha that they're
special.
making? That's interesting. It was not established like that, right? But they do, when they do Birchas Kohen, they say Asher Kiddishanu, that you sanctified us with the kedusha of Aaron, with the holiness of Aaron.
But why it's not the part of Birkas?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I'm not sure. Okay, we'll stop over here, everybody. Good night.
Okay.